When you hear soft landing, brace for impact. The Federal Reserve, the government, and those in power can tell us all they want that this time will be different. But when you have debt from easy money policies piling up, the expectation that somehow the outcome this time will be different is the definition of insanity, which tells us that either we're witnessing a complete break from reality with blind optimism, or that they know the truth of what's coming next and they are just trying to keep us calm before the economic storm hits. I think I know which one it is, but either way, one thing is clear. This time won't be different, and today we'll break down why. Since 1980, there has only been one successful soft landing, while there have been many that have been promised. I saw this chart today that shows the one successful soft landing in the mid-1990s compared to all of the recessions that followed what was supposed to be a massive success by the Federal Reserve. Here on the left, we see the Fed funds rate compared to the GDP change quarter over quarter. And every time what we can see is a recession struck. Boom, 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 boom. Now, if we look a little bit more closely, what started at the beginning of these recessions? We can see there's this downward trajectory of the Fed funds rate, right? Happening every single time, just like is happening today, the start of a Fed rate cut cycle. Now, I am not implying that a Fed rate cut causes a recession, because it definitely doesn't. But what I'm saying is that often the indicators that show us we're in a recession are lagging, which means that by the time the Federal Reserve decides that they need to do something about it, it's too late. Let's take employment, for example. Now, the Federal Reserve knows that inflation is not under control. They might be claiming that they beat inflation, but you and I both know that's not true, that inflation has merely slowed, not stopped, and that more likely than not it is going to come roaring back, which we'll get to in a second. But what the Federal Reserve had to do is it had to decide between fighting inflation and keeping rates high, or cutting rates to help with employment. Now, employment is often a lagging indicator. Unemployment sometimes doesn't show up for almost 18 months after certain monetary policies are put in place, which means that the record amount of layoffs we're seeing, how there's no new job creation, how people's hours are being cut, how unemployment is ticking up, all of these things that are happening, the Federal Reserve understands that those are only going to get worse. That's why the Fed cut rates, because they're scared of what's coming next. But they're going to fall back on their usual playbook of pretending that everything is fine until it reaches a crisis point where they can't pretend anymore. All right, tell me what you think about this quote. The most likely outcome is that the economy will move forward towards a soft landing. No, this is not Jerome Powell, and if you guessed it's from present day, wrong again. This is actually from then San Francisco Fed President Janet Yellen, when? In October 2007, 2 months before the Great Recession hit. That might not have surprised you at all, but it does illustrate that we have a pattern of continuing to try and convince ourselves that everything is fine when we can clearly see that everything is crumbling. And the terrifying part is that Janet Yellen was not alone in her optimism that the economy was going to be fine. In fact, we see it time and time again. I found this article from Bloomberg that showed soft landing hopes and hard landing realities. So what we have here in the dark gray are the number of news articles mentioning the term soft landing right before the US recessions hit. So the first one here we have is, of course, 2001. And we see this big spike up in soft landing optimism right before the recession officially hit. Same thing here in 2008. What do we see? This huge spike up in soft landing optimism before the recession finally hits. What can that tell us about current day? I mean, look at this, you guys. Look at how many people are clamoring for a soft landing, claiming that they know best, that this is what's happening. As this number continues to skyrocket, what can it tell us about how severe the recession is that is obviously coming in next? The same way that many retirees lost half of their retirement in 2008, what's to say it won't happen again? And it doesn't even have to be a huge crash. We know that in the last 4 years, we have lost 25% of our purchasing power, and that war on the dollar continues today. And for a lot of people, while it has been painful to lose purchasing power over the last couple of years, some of that pain might have been minimized or offset by high yield savings accounts. Maybe you're one of those people who's used a CD to help with the interest to get back some of what you've lost. And you wouldn't be alone. In the last 2 years, CDs and high-yield savings accounts have exploded in popularity, thanks to higher interest rates that, of course, is making people feel safe about earning a little bit extra on the side, especially during these uncertain times with inflation. The problem is that many people have now gotten used to this, but do not count on these figures in your future budget projections, because I'm here to tell you that they're not going to last. JP Morgan Chase and US Bank are already calling back their high-yield CDs before they mature to save on interest as rates begin to fall. This is happening to more and more people across the country who are now being forced to reinvest that money at a lower rate. In fact, banks can't wait to stop paying their depositors interest and go back to giving their savers practically nothing. As it stands today, the total expense on interest for US banks is the highest that it's been in recent memory, costing them a fortune. The reason why this is so concerning for those who are nearing retirement or are in retirement, anyone with a fixed income, is that people have gotten used to counting on this additional income as a way to help offset what's going on with inflation. But we can expect to see inflation rise as rates are cut, as the debt mountain continues to climb, supply chain issues, you name it, all of these factors coming together to create a situation where now you are going to be earning nothing on your savings, and the savings that you currently have are only going to be worth less. Take this and combine it with rising unemployment and a slowing economy, and you have a situation where the government is most likely going to warm up the printing machine to create more dollars, further compounding the issue. Does any of this sound like a soft landing to you? Let me ask you one more question. Do you know where the term soft landing comes from? It's not just aviation in general, but specifically it originates from outer space missions. Now, just earlier this year, we sent up a spaceship to land on the moon that was unsuccessful. It landed sideways. The ship had to be abandoned, and it's still sitting there today. In fact, landing successfully, having a successful soft landing on the moon or any other planet is extremely difficult, and there is a very high failure rate. It has been 65 years since man walked on the moon. We have the internet, we have self-driving cars, we have AI, and yet we are still struggling to land successfully on the moon or other planets. It could be argued that a soft landing successfully orchestrated by the Federal Reserve is just as, if not more, difficult. And the odds of it happening are just as, if not more, slim. I was asked last week by someone, why do I do what I do? And it's because I personally know too many people that I love who have been lied to, cheated, and ruined because of the self-serving interests of those in power. If I can help one person out there realize that a soft landing is not in our future, that the US dollar is going to continue to decline in value, that your wealth is being taken from you right now as we speak, then I've done my job. And if we can even take it a step further, and if I can inspire someone out there to take action today to make sure that you're protected against what's happening, well, we're stronger together. And that means I've done my job successful, and I am here to help people out there make sure that you're protecting yourself, your families, your loved ones. If there's someone who needs to hear this message who doesn't yet understand, please make sure to share the video with them. There's strength in numbers and there's strength in education. And again, if you don't know where to start or you want to take action but you're not sure how to, that is what our team is here for. Our expert analysts help people just like you make sure that they're protected against what's coming next. So if you haven't already, click the Calendly link below in the description, set up a call with a member of our team, or call us at the number below and make sure that you're protected today so that you're not kicking yourself in a week or in a month wishing that you had taken action sooner. Because as important as education is, it's action that will actually protect you as we move forward into what's coming next. And as always, I so appreciate you being here with me today. I'm Taylor Kenny with ITM Trading, your trusted source for all things gold, silver, and lifelong wealth protection. Until next time.